Hello everyone, welcome to 100 Healers Astrology. Friends, about 7 to 8 days back, I had a thought in my mind that I should make a video on army. I should make a video on why some people are inclined towards army, they're destined to become army officers. And then around the same time, in last 6, 7 days back, suddenly some events happened around me where I could very strongly feel the energy of Mars. There were some conflicts around me. My car had a small accident, and there were other events also. And I observed that a lot of people are getting affected by Martian energy. Then I checked my horoscope, and I found that I am undergoing the Pratantra Dasha of Mars. And in transits, in the Gochar, the Mars has entered the sign Capricorn, which is a sign of his exaltation on 16th of January 2026. So Mars is presently very, very strong in the sign of Capricorn. And that is the reason I could understand that I'm having these thoughts to make a video on our army and all those Mars-related events which are happening around. Friends, the kind of thoughts which come to our mind, the kind of things we think about, the circumstances of life, a lot depends on our dashas and the transits of planets, based on our past life karma, which we can study through our horoscopes. So, around last 7 days, I started reading about the combinations, the planetary yogas, which decides that a person will become an army officer. I refer to many astrological textbooks, the classical books, and many books written by many brilliant astrologers. But I could not come across any such chapter dedicated to army, that why a person becomes an army officer or joins army. There are many sutras, the slokas given in classical textbooks, where a particular planet, a dasha of a particular planet, a person joins army or a particular combination inclines a person to become an army officer. But there's no chapter dedicated or no article dedicated to such collective combinations, collective analysis, by seeing which we can say that okay, this person will go in army. So friends, I collected around 40 horoscopes. I analyzed these horoscopes and I came across a pattern. I could see some planets repeating in all these horoscopes in particular signs and houses, and their energies blending with each other. And then I analyzed the dashas and I could see a pattern and some particular dashas only why a person joins army. So in this video, I'm going to share that a small research of mine on why some people join army. They're born to join army, born to become defenders and protectors of the nation. So this presentation is going to be dedicated to Mars. I dedicate it to the planet Mars, which is the main signifactor of army, and to all the people in army. So let's begin today's PowerPoint presentation. Jai Shri Ram. Now friends, when we talk about army, the two deities definitely come to our mind. One is the deity Devta Hanuman. He's the, and other is the Kartikeya. Now Hanumanji is the main army commander, the army chief of the army of Bhagwan Ram. And the Lord Kartikeya, he is the army chief of the Devtas. These two deities are very strongly linked to the planet Mars and army in astrology. Both of them have come from Bhagwan Shiva. Hanumanji is said to be born by the Ansh of Shiva. He is also known as Rudra. He is also called the 11th Rudra, avatar of Bhagwan Shiv. And Kartikeya is son of Shiv. And if we refer to the Puranic stories, the stories given in the Puranas, we find that even Mars is born of Shiva. Mars was born from particles of Shiva and the goddess Earth. So all these planets are linked to energy, power, and army. And whenever there is an affliction of Mars in a horoscope, most astrologers advise the prayer to Hanumanji in North India and prayer to Kartikeya in southern states of India. So from this also, friends, we come to know that Mars is the main planet related to army. Unless and until the person has the blessing of Mars in the horoscope, person cannot be an army officer. Now, friends, I'm going to share my observations in my research which I've come across. Now, when I'm discussing these my observations about the main planets which take a person to army, the main houses, the main signs, and the main dashas, we have to keep one thing in mind, that we have to apply them in all three main charts, that are the Rashi chart, D1 chart, the D9 chart, the Navash chart, and the chart of career, that is called Dashansh chart, D10 chart. Now, D1 chart is the main chart, we know that. But D9 chart is said to be the fruit of the Rashi chart. A Rashi chart is like a tree, but our concern is with the fruit. So that depends on the Navash chart. And the Shans chart, Maharshi Prashar has said in the great book BPHS, Brahat Prashar Rashastra, is the main horoscope to be seen for career analysis. Just by looking at D1, we cannot with complete accuracy tell about the career of a person. We have to refer to D10 chart along with D9 chart. So friends, in my research, I found 4 planets to be mainly responsible for taking a person into life of army. The first and most important planet is Sun. And Sun is the main significator, which is called Karaka, of the first house of the horoscope. That is the ascendant, the Lagna of the horoscope. It is the Karaka significator of our identity. How the society knows us, how people know us, that is signified by the Sun. And it also the significator of government service. It's called Rajya Karaka. Now, unless until the person is blessed by Sun, has a prominent Sun in the horoscope, person cannot be in government service. Now, being in army is a central government job. Army is a part of government. Army works on the direction of government. So, person need to have the blessings of Sun, a well-placed Sun in the horoscope, where Sun should be connected to the main houses, like the first house, the 10th house, which are related to our profession. Then only the person can go into army job, army career. Now, the most important planet is Mars for the army service. Mars is the planet of courage, valor. It's the main Karaka planet of being in defense forces in army. Mars is a protector. The job of the army is to protect the nation, to protect its civil population from the external aggression. Hanumanji is the protector in the army of Bhagwan Ram. Bhagwan Kartikeya is the protector of mankind. He is the chief of army, chief of the Devtas. Now, Mars is the significator of war, friends. The primary job of the army is to fight war to protect the countries. Also, the significator of physical strength, which is a very important requisite to be in army. Army is known for its physical strength, endurance. The third most important planet for army life is Saturn. Saturn is the main significator planet for discipline. Now, army is known for its strong discipline. Army life means a disciplined life, friends. They have to be very punctual, they have to get up on time, they have to sleep on time, they have to perform their duties with a lot of discipline. Their whole life is about discipline. Army is an organization based on hierarchy. And Saturn is the main significator planet for hierarchy. Especially the Capricorn sign, which is lorded by Saturn, is the main sign of hierarchy. Now, in army, friends, whenever an officer is commissioned, he first becomes a lieutenant, then is promoted to captain, from captain to major, from major to lieutenant colonel, colonel, brigadier, and then general. So, very strong and systematic hierarchy is there. It's not that some captain, somebody is commissioned as captain, a junior officer can bypass other officers. No, that's not possible in army. Saturn is the Karaka of profession, significator of profession. Now, friends, the life of army is full of hardships. These people, the army people, they live in very difficult terrains, in very difficult environments. They live in mountains, they live in the border areas with no facilities, there are no roads. They live in desert areas in harsh climates. So strong Saturn gives person strong endurance to bear these hardships. So when these are the 3 main planets, Sun, Mars and Saturn, unless and until these 3 planets make a connection in the horoscope, with the main houses of profession like the Lagna, the first house, the 10th house, or the 6th house. Person cannot be in army. This is the primary requisite to be in army. Then, friends, in my research, I came across the fourth very important planet for army life, that is Ketu. Friends, when we read the classical astrological textbooks, there are stanzas and there are a lot of paras where the great Maharishis have mentioned that in Dasha of a powerful sun or Dasha of a Mars, especially when it's making a Ruchak Yog, then or the Shash Yog made by the Saturn, person gets the army rank. He becomes the commander in chief of army or the army commander. These are given in our standard classical textbooks. So, but in all the textbooks, I could not come across any shloka or sutra where Ketu is linked to army. Now, this is what I observed in the around 40 charts I analyzed. I observed that Ketu is very, very important for army career. And reason is why? The logic is that Ketu is the karka, the signifier of isolation, separation. The people in army, they have to get separated from their families. They have to leave their towns, the cities in which they were brought up and they were born. They have to leave behind their families and they have to go and live on the border areas in isolation. So unless until Ketu is present, person cannot have this tendency to get separated or isolated from the family. This acceptance, the acceptance of separation, of isolation comes from Ketu. So Ketu is very, very important for army service, army career. Energy of Ketu has to influence the first house, the 10th house, or the 6th house, the houses of career of the person in the horoscope. It's a Ketu which gives the obedience without ego. Friends, in army, the person, the officer, or any Jawan has to follow the orders of the seniors. They cannot do whatever they want. Army is a very disciplined, very strict organization. The orders of seniors have to be followed. And this obedience without any ego issues only comes from the blessings of Ketu. Now friends, Ketu is also known as Mukti Karka, the planet of separation, the planet of separating one thing from another. And this is known as sacrifice, readiness to sacrifice. The ability to sacrifice, to leave things come from Ketu. Now friends, the army people, the people in army, they leave their family behind. They leave their comforts. They are not bothered about their comforts, their personal comforts, their personal relationships. We see so many army people are posting border away from their families. Their wife and their children are living at their own villages or in army camps in cities. But these army officers and Jawans, they are posted at border areas where nobody can go. Normal public cannot go there. So this readiness to sacrifice their own comforts and relations comes from Ketu. Now another signification of Ketu is the realization of death. Now friends, in army we know that our army is always involved in difficult situations where they are always tackling this terrorist. They are always facing hostilities at the border. The firing is going on. And in everyday news we hear that some of the Jawans or army officer has been martyred or sacrificed their life for the nation. So Ketu is the planet which gives this ability to sacrifice their life for the nation, friends. So these four planets are the most important, which I found in my research after analyzing about 40 horoscopes of the army officers. There has to be some connection of these four planets related to the primary houses of profession and the personality. Then only a person is inclined to go and join the army. Now next, move to the next slide. Now these are the important houses and the signs which are important for the army career. Now friends, the first, these three houses are very, very important. The first, 10th and 6th, they are linked to the army service, career and profession. First house is the house of identity, self, profession. 10th house we know is the house of profession. And 6th house is also very important for army life, because it's also the house of enemies. Now the primary job of the army is to tackle and counter the enemies of a nation. So they're always planning, they're always thinking about how to defeat the enemies, how to defeat. For example, Indian army, the officers in army, they're always planning and thinking, tackle the Pakistani armies or Chinese hostilities, or how to handle or tackle the terrorist attacks. Friends, in the classical texts of astrology, One sutra I came across is that whenever the 10th lord is in the 6th house, and Mars is involved with that, the 10th lord along with Mars or under the aspect of Mars in the 6th house is a combination for joining army. The 6th house is very, very important for army service. Then third house is very important, friends. We know that third house is the house of courage, skills and strategy. Very important for army career. And fourth house is also important, friends. Because both fourth sign, Cancer sign and fourth house are important. Because this fourth house and natural fourth sign, that is Cancer, these are the places of homeland. Patriotic feeling. The patriotic feeling comes from this place. Friends, whenever the Mars will be placed in the fourth house, it will be expecting the 10th house, the house of career from there. So it will be connecting the fourth and 10th. If Mars is placed in third house, it will be expecting the 10th house with its 8th aspect. So again, it will be connecting third and 10th, and the Mars will be involved. Now, another important house for army I have seen is 11th house, friends, because this is the house of big organizations. This is the house of awards and honors. Now, friends, army is one of the biggest organization in any country. Army is also one of the biggest employers in our country. People in army, they keep on getting the awards, medals, and honors for their bravery. So both of these come from 11th house, friends. So very, very important for army career. Now the important signs, the first two signs belong to Mars, the planet of army. So both are important. Aries represents the physical strength and courage. But friends, in my observation, in my research, I have found Scorpio more strongly linked to army career, more than Aries. I feel Scorpio is more strongly connected to army career than Aries. The reason is that Scorpio is a sign of crisis. Scorpio is a sign of critical issues, the life and death issues. So friends, whenever now war is one of the biggest crises a mankind have, a country can face. And it's a job of the army to win the war for the countries. Whenever there's a disaster in a country, whenever there's a big crisis like disaster, some natural disaster like floods are there, earthquakes are there, some railway big accident is there, big accident, some bus falls down, some bridge collapses. We always rely upon army. The government always calls the army to help. We, in any kind of disaster, man-made or natural, we find that army is involved. Army is there to protect the people, to rescue the people. So Scorpio is the sign of these things. The Scorpio is also the now sign of secret missions. And we know that our special forces is always involved in some secret mission. Cancer, we already discussed, the sign of home and patriotism. Then Virgo, the natural sign of the zodiac of the 6th house, strategy and fighting enemies, again important. Capricorn, we have discussed, is the Lord is Shani, the planet of discipline, hierarchy, and endurance. Then also Leo, the sign of sun. Again, the energy of government is there, leadership, fame, and authority. So all these signs and houses are commonly seen prominently where the planets are placed, making these combinations related to army. Now friends, let's move to the next slide and understand. Now friends, these combinations will be present in many other horoscopes of non-army people also. But the main deciding factor is the dasha. It's the dasha of Mars, the planets linked to Mars at a particular right age when the person joins the army. The planetary yogas related to army may be present in a lot of non-army horoscopes. But why they are not in army? Because at that time, young age, when it is the age to join army, the dasha of Mars was not running. Dasha of the planets related to Mars was not running. In all the horoscopes I studied of army people, most of them joined army in the dasha of Mars. Dasha of Mars was there at either at the level of Mahadasha, or it was the Antardasha, or it was the Pratantardasha. But it was there. In a very few cases, when the dasha of Mars was not there, it was the dasha of planet which was under the influence of Mars, strongly under the influence of Mars. Either the planet was conjunct with Mars, making a combination with the Mars, or the planet was aspected by Mars, was under the drishti of Mars, or that planet was sitting in the signs of Mars, that it was sitting in the Aries or Scorpio. Or it was the dasha of the planet in whose sign the Mars is sitting. The dasha of dispositor of the Mars. So somewhere in the dasha, Mars will definitely come, friends. Otherwise, person cannot join army. Now, friends, we will see some horoscopes of army officers, and we'll see this combinations, presence of this combination in the charts. And when we are analyzing these combinations, we'll check all the three charts: D1 chart, Rashi chart, Namas chart, D9 chart, and Dashansh chart, the chart of career D10 chart. Now, friends, this is the horoscope of a army general, George Patton. He was the army general in USA Army, in American Army, and he played a very prominent, important role in the World War II. He's a very, very respected army general in America. Let's analyze this chart. Now, friends, this is the Rashi chart, the main D1 chart. In this chart, let's see the 10th house, the house of profession. Now, here we see it's the sign of Saturn, the Kumbh Rashi, Aquarius sign is there, and Saturn is in the second house. Okay. Now, Saturn is aspecting with its third aspect Mars, the planet of army. So, Mars is getting the discipline, endurance, energy of discipline, endurance from Saturn. And where is Mars sitting, the planet of army sitting? It is sitting in the sign of Leo. Sign of Leo in the fourth house of homeland. And Mars is aspecting the 10th house. So friends, there is a very strong connection of 10th house, Saturn and Mars and Sun, energy of Sun. The Rashi Leo is there, sign Leo is there. So our rule which we learned is fulfilled here. Combination of 10th house with Saturn, with Mars, with Sun. Mars sitting in the house of Sun. And where is the Sun gone? The Lord of Mars, it is gone in the sixth house of enemies. And it is debilitated in Libra. Sun is sitting in debilitation sign Libra in the sixth house. The great Maharishi Parashar, in his book, one of the greatest books of astrology, Brit Parashar Horoscope, has given that a debilitated planet in the sixth house gives the Raj Yoga. It is a debilitated planet in the sixth house destroys your enemies. So friends, this whole combination is present for being an army officer connected with the 10th house. Now moving to the D9 chart, Ketu has not come in this combination till now. Let's move to D9 chart. Friends, the planet Saturn of D1 in D9 is gone into 6th house of enemies. Again a connection with the 6th house. Career related to enemies, defeating enemies. And Mars and Sun again sitting in the 10th house of D9. Again a very important combination. Friends, in Brit Prashahura Shastra, in Jatak Bharnam and various classical texts, one yoga is repeatedly given for being in army career. A combination of Sun and Mars. If the classical says that Sun and Mars present in 9th house or 10th house or 11th house is a yoga for being in army. One of the yogas for factors for being in army. So Mars and Sun are here in 10th house. The Karam Karaka, the natural lord of profession, Saturn is in 6th house. Till now the Ketu has not come, friends. Now let's see it in the D10 chart. The Saturn, the planet of profession, natural planet of profession, and this horoscope, the lord of 10th house, is with Ketu and Mars in the sign of Scorpio, very, very important. D10 chart is the main chart for analyzing career of a person. The 10th lord of D1 chart, Saturn, which is also the natural Karam Karaka, natural lord of profession, is sitting with Mars and Ketu in the sign of Scorpio, and Sun is again in the 10th house. So these are the combinations which decided that George Patton will become an army officer. And he joined army in the Dasha of Mars. In the Mars Mahadasha, which came in his youth, he decided to join army and became an army officer. So friends, let's move to the next horoscope. Friends, this is the horoscope of General Hal Moore. He is considered to be one of the greatest American general. Let's see his D1 chart. Ketu sitting in Lagna, the first rule, the first rule has been fulfilled. Ketu making a strong connection to the personality, the profession of the person by sitting in the first house of the horoscope. The Lord of Lagna, the dispositor of Ketu, is Jupiter, also the 10th Lord. Jupiter is both the Lagna Lord and 10th Lord, sitting with Saturn, the planet of discipline, endurance, hardships. So, a life connected to discipline, hardships. Ketu, the planet of sacrifices, planet of isolation, is there. A very powerful Mars is there, friends, in the ninth house. Its own sign Scorpio, setting its own sign Scorpio, Mars is very, very powerful. It's going towards Digbal. Mars is moving towards 10th house, very close to 10th house. This position of its Digbal. This is very, very powerful Mars. Let's check the D9 chart. Again, Ketu in the 10th house, in the sign of Jupiter. Again, the 10th Lord here is Jupiter, the 10th Lord here is Jupiter. It's a Vargottam Kundli. The 10th Lord Jupiter of D1 and D9 is sitting with the planet of army Mars in the house of enemies. A very classical combination of joining army. 10th Lord in the 6th house with the Mars is a classical combination of becoming an army officer. Ketu is already there. Again, a very powerful combination. Let's go to a D10 chart. Again, Mars sitting in the Lagna. The first house of D10 chart, the most important house of D10 chart for analyzing career is the first house. And Mars is sitting there in the sign of Leo, the sign of Sun, expected by the Sun. And Mars has Ketu here in Aries. So Mars is dispositor of the Ketu. So friends, all the four planets, Ketu, Saturn, Mars, and Sun, making a strong connection in the horoscope with the Lagna or 10th house or the house 6th house of enemies. Signs involved Scorpio, Leo. This person was born to be an army general. Now let's move to the end. Friends, he joined army again in Mars Mahadasha. Friends, Mahadasha has one of the most important roles to play in our life. The kind of environment we will live in, the kind of thoughts which come to mind, our inclinations, our desires, all change with the Mahadasha. The significations of the planet decide circumstances of our life. What kind of thoughts will come to our mind? If I ask you, friends, that what will be thinking about tomorrow? What will you think about tomorrow? You cannot tell me that. Nobody can tell that. Maybe some yogis may be able to tell that. But a person, common person, cannot decide what will happen in his life day after tomorrow. We all make our plans, but our plans change. Something happens which we did not plan. Some thoughts come to our mind which we never thought about. So these things are controlled by the movement of planets. Now coming to the next chart. Now this is a chart of an Indian Army officer. The chart is given in the BPHS, Brit Prashara Shastra, translated by Grish Chand Sharma ji, a great astrologer, great translator, very, very wise, knowledgeable man. And we all must thank him that for translating and making it easy for students of astrology like me, who don't know Sanskrit, but able to read and study astrology because of people like him. So friends, this person joined army in the Dasha of Sun Mercury Mars. He's an Indian person, became a colonel in the Indian army. Now friends, let's see. The Mars, Sun sitting together in the 10th house. In the sign of Virgo, strategy, enemies. The profession is related to making strategies against enemies. Mars, Sun together. And where is Saturn? Saturn sitting in Scorpio. The sign of secret missions. The sign of hardships, crisis, disaster. Saturn sitting in the sign of Mars in Scorpio. Mars as Lord of Saturn in the 10th house with the Sun. And Mars is also dispositor of Ketu. So Mars is carrying the energy of Ketu and Saturn coming to 10th house, combining with the Rajya Karka, the Karka planet of government. This person was bound to be an army officer. Let's go to D9. Again, Sun and Mars together in the sign of Aquarius, and Saturn is again in Scorpio. So Mars is again the dispositor of Saturn in Scorpio, combining with Sun. And the Lagan and the 10th lord of demon. 10th lord of demon is Mercury, is here with Ketu. All the conditions of being an army officer fulfilled. The 10th lord of demon is again with Ketu here, D9. Let's come to D10 chart, again Sun and Mars in the Lagna. Conditions fulfilled. Saturn is there, aspecting it. Suns and Mars aspecting Saturn, Saturn aspecting Sun and Mars. The 10th lord of D10 is with Ketu. Again the condition is fulfilled. Again the condition is fulfilled, friends. Again Ketu is there with the 10th lord of D10. And the person joined army in the Pratantra Dasha of Mars at third level. Sun is sitting with Mars, Mercury is the lord of 10th house, and Mars is sitting there. Again Mars is there in the Dasha. Coming to the next horoscope. Friends, this is another horoscope of an Indian Army officer. I know him personally. He has consulted his horoscope many times with me. This chart again we see, friend, 10th house again as Sun, the sign of Scorpio. Friends, in my multiple studies, whatever horoscopes are, the most common sign where Saturn, Mars, or Sun is sitting and making connection to 10th house with career house is Scorpio for army career. So his Sun is sitting in the 10th house in the sign of Scorpio, and this Sun is carrying the energy of Saturn. Saturn is sitting in the house of Sun in Leo. And who is the Saturn? Saturn is the 11th Lord. Saturn is the first Lord. And in the first house again Ketu is there. So very strong combination of Ketu, Saturn, Sun, Scorpio, Scorpio sign of Mars becoming in the 10th house. All the conditions fulfilled. Now coming to D9, Mars is in the Lagna itself, making a Ruchak Yog. Mars in the Aries sign in the Lagna, aspected by Saturn. Again, that Saturn is the 10th Lord, exalted. So Mars and Saturn expecting each other. Saturn is the 10th Lord and it has Sun in the 10th house. Again, the conditions fulfilled, friends. Sun, Mars, Saturn making connection with the Lagna and 10th house. Born to be an army officer. Coming to D10, the 11th Lord and the 10th Lord Mercury is with the Mars, the planet of army. And Ketu is again here in the sign of Scorpio. So Mars is bringing the energy of Ketu along with it, combining with the 11th Lord, 10th Lord. Mars is also the 10th Lord of the D1 chart. Sun, Saturn together again in the house of enemies. Again the conditions. So this person was born to be an army officer, friends. Friends, with study of astrology and seeing horoscopes, I have somewhere have come to believe that life reveals itself. When we study the stories of in our Puranas and Shastras, we then realize, and when we study astrology, then we realize that we sometimes are just the puppets of our karmas. From the study of Jyotish, from the astrology and analyzing dashas and gochar, we are able to predict about the life of person, and then we realize that okay, it was already predestined. So many things in life are predestined. Life reveals itself. So I strongly believe that people are born to be army officers with these combinations, and life reveals itself. So friend, this was my small analysis, my research on who are people born to be army officers. If you like my channel, please subscribe to my channel, like the videos. We'll meet again next time with some very interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.